Hey guys, if you haven't noticed, I'm not Sofian. I'm Alex from Auto Buyer's Guide, but I am out here at Goodwood with the all-new Ioniq 5N, and I promised my friend Sofian that I would shoot him a little bit of footage, so let's take a look at Hyundai's new all-electric performance car. As you approach the Ioniq 5N, obviously something is up because we get lots of styling changes versus the regular Ioniq 5. Up front, you'll notice immediately, of course, the red accents, but if you go a little bit closer, this portion of the grille is actually an air intake because we get extra cooling and an extra coolant loop in the Ioniq 5N in order to keep that battery and the electric motor all happy. The battery and the electric motor actually have different cooling loops now with different radiators. Lots going on here on the lower bumper. The entire Ioniq 5N is actually longer than the regular Ioniq 5 because of some of the aero treatments up front and of course that lower bumper right there. Also, we get a different rear bumper. But before we get to that, let's talk about the side. Of course, we have a wider body as you'd expect in a performance vehicle, and that's to accommodate these really big wheels and really big tires. 21-inch Pirelli P0 tires, wrapped around 21-inch alloy wheels, really thin snowflake style wheels. I think these are really cool. Also kind of cool, if you don't like the snowflake theme quite as much, this section right here can be removed not only to improve brake cooling, but also to change the look of the vehicle, which is a nice touch. Now you might be wondering, did they make any sheet metal changes to the vehicle? The answer is no. We do have more welds and more structural adhesive, but the front quarter panels are actually the same and the hood is the same as the regular Ioniq 5. The extra width for those tires comes right here in the fender flare. And they designed the vehicle from the ground up to have an Ioniq 5N, which is why this integrates so well with the look of the car. We of course have the different sills down there. This particular paint job is the N Performance blue color that I like to call Performance Periwinkle, and it is a matte paint job. We find absolutely massive brakes all the way around in the vehicle. Ventilated discs in the back, nearly 16-inch. They're actually 15 3/4-inch discs up front. Absolutely massive brake calipers up there as well. Bright orange N logo right down there with the N brake caliper in the back. It's a little bit difficult to show you the entire rear end design from this angle, but I'll show you what I can. We have obviously the pixel theme in the back that you find in the rest of the Ioniq lineup. Lots of squares going on there. Big Ioniq 5 logo right in the middle. Blacked out Hyundai badges all the way around. There is still a rear windshield wiper, so they don't delete that. Triangular themes are of course required in an N product, so we have a triangular center brake light there with that new spoiler motif. Definitely a different lower grille treatment, lower bumper treatment down here. The vents on the back there with these aero striations there. This is where a lot of the extra length comes in the rear, and that helps reduce lift and helps smooth the air out as it goes to the back. Again, more pixel themes there. This is the only non-functional duct that I could find on the Ioniq 5N. Now let's talk power as we go under the hood. Lots and lots of power here in the Ioniq 5N. 641 horsepower. As we go to that under hood area, you notice even more pixels right down there on the dead pedal. Checkerboard pixels right there on the door sill. Again, basically the same doors that we find in the regular Ioniq 5. But under this hood, we find a new electric motor. We don't have all the individual motor specifications yet, but this will deliver up to 641 horsepower when it's in its boost mode. Still a very healthy, approximately 600 horsepower without the boost mode. Now, a lot of you are wondering, how does this relate to the Kia EV6 GT? Well, obviously they're built on the same eGMP platform. They may or may not share the rear motor unit. This has torque vectoring axles on the front and the rear, and my suspicion is that it's the same electric motor that we find in the EV6's back end, also up front for that torque vectoring capability in the front, and that's probably where we get the extra power. Also though, very importantly, we get a unique battery pack in the Ioniq 5N. This uses a new 82 kilowatt hour battery pack that is currently not shared with any other eGMP platform vehicles. And this is specifically designed for the Ioniq 5N, its level of performance, its cooling demands, etc. So this will precondition the battery, not just for DC fast charging, but also for performance. And there will be several different preconditioning modes. If you want to precondition for drag strip performance, or if you want to precondition for a more repeatable autocross or track performance, those are the various modes. Then of course it'll do preconditioning for quick DC fast charging as well. Speaking of DC fast charging, just 18 minutes from 10% to 80%. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the inside. Let's go ahead and take a look at the back seat first, because that is essentially the same as the regular Ioniq 5. We get very similar seat designs back there, of course with the Alcantara inserts in the middle. And then you'll notice we don't have a large panoramic moonroof. That's to help reduce the center of gravity, but also has the effect of giving you slightly better rear seat headroom. Basically the same door panels back there with the integrated sunshades. Then if we go on the inside up front, we notice that first things first, we have the very distinctive N seats. These are very similar to what we find in other Hyundai N products in that these are manual seats. You also lose the seat ventilation, but we do have N logos on the front and back. They look like 5-point harness seats, but these are in fact not. They're just designed for the 3-point seat belts. Taking a closer look at the seats, you'll notice that the bolstering is definitely very, very aggressive. We don't know if there are going to be different seats available in the US market or not, but at this point in time, it looks like we're probably just going to be getting these manual seats. The front doors look essentially the same as the rest of the Ioniq 5 lineup, as does the majority of the dashboard. I apologize for the really blue light in here. It's very difficult to see the true colors. This is really sort of a charcoal interior. It's not a Smurf blue, I promise. Over here in the dashboard, we find lots and lots of N-specific software controls. Let's see if we can take a closer look at this while I attempt to balance the camera. Again, we don't have a lot of time with this vehicle, so lots of apologies here. We have N launch control with adjustable road grip levels. We have N E-Shift. This is the imitation 8-speed DCT functionality. You can turn it on and off, which is a nice touch. N active sound. This plays sounds inside and outside the vehicle. Different sonic experiences than we find in the regular Ioniq 5. N road sense will suggest using an N mode anytime it sees a double curve sign. That's kind of cool. N battery preconditioning, so I was talking about before, drag and track modes there. N pedal, the cost of regeneration is factored into things, etc. Lots of different modes here. You can pay attention to that one there. This is going to have an even more aggressive regeneration capability when using the brake pedal than we find in any other Hyundai EV, and actually it's one of the strongest apparently. N drift optimizer will help you kick out the rear end to do drifting and donuts. The N race mode and torque distribution there can be adjusted. We also have the N track modes here, and battery. You can see where the battery temperature is on the battery temperature over here. You can hit the information button for more information, but that's just really just to show you where we are. We then also, again, have that N torque distribution there. You can do front and rear. And as we see in other N products, there are custom modes where you can adjust all sorts of other things, whether you want the motors to be in Sport or Sport Plus, and steering, and the stability control, and the heads-up display, all that jazz over there. We also get a customizable instrument cluster over here with unique software with 3 different layouts. It's pretty snappy, but I really appreciate the fact that we get actual temperature readouts for the front motor, rear motor, and the battery temperature right there. Then we get this very eccentric steering wheel. I'm gonna have to lean way back to show you this steering wheel here. We have paddles on the back. These are gonna function as regenerative brake paddles and paddle shifter paddles. Again, kind of silly. Imitation shifts, sort of an 8-speed DCT thing. Drive mode selector right there, so you can toggle through the regular drive modes, eco, normal, sport, etc. This is the N Grin Boost mode that gives you the most power out of the system. Infotainment controls, cruise control controls, direct access buttons to the dedicated custom N modes. Really cool there as well. Same digital shifter that we find in the rest of the Ioniq lineup. I am a tiny bit surprised that they didn't try and give us something even more space-aged and unique for that. Same climate controls that we find in the rest of the Ioniq 5 lineup, but a different center console. And that's in order to give you more bolstering if you're really cornering this on a track, thanks to that lower center of gravity and the wider tires. So padded bolster right there for your legs. Lots of USB ports here. Thank goodness we finally have some more. USB charge only, USB charge only. This one is selectable between interfacing with the system and USB charge only. We see that also in the Kia EV9. Then we get near field communication spot right there. Little N logo inside, big cup holders, etc. And then a slightly different storage console right there in the middle of everything. Unfortunately, one of the things that we don't know at the moment is how much is the Ioniq 5 N going to cost. But we know it's going to go 0 to 60 in around 3.5 seconds. Probably a little bit lower, actually, because Hyundai lately has taken the BMW course of things and really has been underestimating their 0 to 60 times, or I should say overestimating, I guess you could say. So this is probably going to be quicker than the specification as we've seen in some of the other Hyundai EVs out there. And of course that EV6 GT, which is again related to this, but not the same level of N-ness. And that was definitely deliberate in the lineup to try and differentiate the product line a bit more. If you want the ultimate in performance, you want the Ioniq 5N. If you want something a little bit more affordable, that's probably gonna be the EV6 GT. But the EV6 is not as cargo practical as I've noted before. The cargo compartment in here, the rear seat compartment, is definitely a little bit more generous, and I really like the look of this. Also, if you want a high-performance EV, especially a track-focused EV, there are not a lot of choices right now. This is one of the very few. And outside this, you'd be looking at something, maybe like a Porsche Taycan, some upcoming other models from Europe, but really there's nothing else like this out on the market right now. This is definitely different than the Tesla Model Y. The Model Y does have a performance version, of course, but it's not this same level of dedicated track performance when it comes to the cooling, the brake system, everything else about the vehicle. This definitely takes things to the next level. You can find an EV that's gonna go a little bit quicker 0 to 60 out there, but you'd be hard pressed to find one that will go quicker 0 to 60 when the battery is around 25% state of charge or repeatably back to back to back. As always, be sure and hit that subscribe button at the bottom of your screen so you can be updated on all of Sofian's latest videos, including his take on the Ioniq 5 just as soon as he can get his hands on this in the North American market. Again, this is a European market or world market Ioniq 5 at the moment. There may be some slight regional variations. You may have seen this advertised as 650 horsepower. That is horsepower as far as the British go. On the American scale, it's going to be about 641 horsepower. Other details will likely emerge. This is going to be on sale in 2024. We don't know pricing yet. Probably about $70,000, let's be pretty honest. If you want to see me, you can find me over at Auto Buyer's Guide. You can find me over at Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, etc. And I'll see all of you next week.